So Phil Gatt here. Welcome to the Beacon Yoga Center. Here we are in the beautiful library in the main building, and I'm here today with Alex Gordon, a good friend of mine who's going to ask some questions around the upcoming Smooth Guide to Self-Knowledge course on the first part of the Tattwa Bodha. So welcome, Alex, and over to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me down, Phil. Yeah, so I had a quick read of the blurb on the website, and yeah, just wanted to get into some more nitty sort of gritty questions. So I've not really got into yoga at
Mm.
all
Mm.
previously. So do I need to have done anything to prepare for this course or anything like that, or?
No, not at all. The beauty of this wisdom, I think, is that it meets us where we're at. And really, the first and only prerequisite is that we're curious, we're inquisitive, we're interested in exploring the subject matter. Doesn't require any physical adeptness or flexibility, doesn't require any previous knowledge of yoga or yogic terms. The way that the book that I wrote, The Smooth Guide to Self-Knowledge, was written was to explain any of the terms in a way that is understandable by people who don't have any knowledge of, say, Sanskrit or yoga. So yeah, you don't have to have done anything. Just need to be curious, really.
Okay, cool. Now, me personally, I've never taken a course at all before. Right? I've never
Oh,
really thought about yoga per
yeah,
se.
yeah.
But yeah, do I need to? Is this a good course to get started with, or is it more of an advanced course?
Great question. Um, and I think the answer to it is that this is a perfect place for a person to start if they've had no prior experience of yoga. The reason being is that the subject matter is to do with identity. It's to do with the nature of who I am as a person. So, there are many people who've not practiced yoga ever before in their lives, but they're still human beings, they're still persons, and they have an identity. And so this knowledge addresses the fundamental question of the identity of a human being, regardless of their cultural background. So what is I guess what's the common denominator for human beings? And so that's a great place to start. And you may never choose to do any yoga which is seen as often in the West as various asana or postures. You don't need to have, you don't need to have done, and you don't need to do any of that in order for this to be totally relevant to you.
Okay, cool. Now, I've also spotted that this is a 12-week long course.
Yes,
Now, you know, I'm not sure if I'm necessarily prepared to commit 12 weeks.
sure.
Is there a possibility to sort of, chunk it down or see how you go or test waters, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think, many of us are very busy, whether or not we're a young adult um, or mature elderly adult. We often find that we've got a lot of things um, in the day that create busyness for us. So, in terms of a time commitment, um, the material over a 12-week period, for each week, the material that is going to be uploaded is not going to be more than 30 minutes, 40 minutes that's uploaded. And then, so that's, it's less than an hour over 12 weeks. So it's, less than 12 hours over those 12 weeks. Then if one wanted to do, and I would suggest this is very important, to do some reflection on the material, even if one spent, 2 hours reflecting on the material over the course of a week, that really, say for example, it was 3 hours a week that you were doing over the course of 12 weeks, that's 36 hours. And then, if we think that, an average life is 70, 80 years, I mean, for someone of your generation, you could well live until you're 100, particularly someone who's not drinking, not smoking, living, a healthy life. There's no reason why you can't live to 100. So 36 hours out of a year, out of 100 years, doesn't add up, as my old boss at the Water Corporation used to say, to a row of beans. And what's the subject matter? Well, the subject matter is the identity as to who I am, and whether or not I find myself as an acceptable, lovable self. And if there's any doubt about that, then on beginning the course, then this course is about alleviating those doubts, resolving those doubts. And then from there on in, I mean, what an investment. So I think that you could well invest in that and profit greatly for the rest of your life in it.
And then going onwards from this course, what is there a trail or is there a journey or a pathway? What does it lead to next?
Great question. And the way that was explained to me was on coming across this knowledge and assimilating, digesting this knowledge. It's a bit it's very similar to learning to drive. And I know you're a driver, and you came from your home to my home today and then drove us to the Beacon Yoga Center. Now, when you learned to drive, I guess, you had an instructor in the car, and when you took your driving test, you had an examiner, and clearly you passed your test. And on passing the test, the examiner didn't say to you, right, this is where you're going to drive from here on in. You decide where you're going to drive. And, I guess learning to drive is about two things. It's one about understanding how to control the vehicle. And secondly, it's about learning how to negotiate traffic. And this knowledge is very much of the same dimension. It's about learning about what this is that I am, that I take myself to be, and seeking to be the master of it rather than a slave to it. And similarly, learning how to negotiate life and living, and make life and living something which is filled with contentment and fulfillment and ease, as opposed to one where I seem to be butting up against life all of the time, or life seems like it's against me.
Well, Phil, thanks very much for having me down here.
You're welcome.
And answering my questions. And
my pleasure.
Yeah, so that's starting on the 3rd of September.
Yep.
Runs for 12 weeks.
Yep.
And it's free to register.
Yep.
But places are strictly limited, so get in quick.
And I look forward to seeing you there, Alex.
Easy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
Cheers. Bye.